Well. Do chains and whips excite you? I guess is the question of the day. Now, isn't it?
It is.
Absolutely.
Welcome to the show, ladies. This is the Bombshell's Boudoir. So, I'm sitting here with the OBB herself and also Vintage today. And the OBB has gotten a ton of questions. People have written to her asking her all sorts of naughty questions, which finally are going to be gone over
and answered
by Vintage and I guess.
Yeah, so I figured the way we would do this is we kind of... I got lots of naughty questions, and some of them are appropriate for a show, and some of them you need to just pray.
Or just message
and do
us.
You kiss your and stop messaging me, and I don't need your pics either, and do you kiss your mama with that mouth. But going over the questions, we were talking, most of the questions surround about BDSM, and I think that's because a lot of our listeners know that both of you are in that lifestyle.
Yes.
I feel like I have this flag over my head.
I know,
red flag.
Yeah, taboo.
Yeah. Freak, stay away.
Absolutely not. And I think one of the things that I love about the fact that people did, I mean, I've only got 7 of the questions written down, but I mean, there's probably 20 or 30 of them. A lot of them along the same kind of lines. First off, the questions were all very respectful, which is awesome, so thank you. But I think it's so cool that our listeners trust you guys, number one. And number 2, that everyone is so accepting. You're not a freak. You know what I mean? There are women on our page that look up to both of you and are like, wow. And I'm like, yeah, I gotta go to confession. Don't trust me. No, but obviously we all know I am not a BDSM expert, but what little I do know, I have taken from you guys. LOL. So you want to get straight into the nitty gritty?
We can get straight into the nitty gritty, but also too, if anybody has any questions for us, for Vintage or Electra,
please start messaging them.
please feel free to message us.
Absolutely. Inbox us,
Well, and I'm just going to put it out there right now that we are not the end all be all, experts on...
What the shit? I quit.
On BDSM. I mean, these are really just, the facts we can go over and things like that and our opinions and stuff, but... if you're looking for...
This is BDSM according to BB.
Yeah, if you're looking for statistics and all this other kind of stuff, I don't have that for you.
Not today, boo.
Not today. So, but otherwise, we do have a wealth of knowledge between us. Vintage, a lot more than me. She's been doing this longer. And really...
Oh, my poor mother.
And ultimately, I gotta say... People get very uptight about it, and because it is such a taboo subject, shh, we can't talk about it in public. We have to be quiet.
Right.
And, I say let your freak flag fly.
I do too. I mean, it's like back in the old days when, the way society has really kind of come round to things. And become so much more accepting. Back in the old days, you saw a pregnant one, everybody was like, oh, we know what she does when she closes the door.
Yeah.
Now it's like, oh, please, if you only knew what people were doing behind closed doors.
Right. I think one of the things, too, that makes me so proud of both of you and knowing both of you, and why people wanted to ask this question specifically of you guys, is there is such a stigmatism of women and sex. And so we get messages a lot of times. They reach out to me just because my name is out there because, I'm addicted to Facebook. But saying, wow, thank you. You guys can own your sexuality, be proud of it, and not feel ashamed. And no one should feel ashamed.
No.
What is it you always say to me when I'm like, yeah, no.
Don't yuck on my yum.
Don't yuck on my yum. Yeah. So it's being respectful, and I think... You two show. You're both caring, loving, supporting, awesome women, great moms, and you happen to double in the BDS.
Double.
You know what I mean? So I think it shows women that you can
Well,
own it and be
Yeah.
okay, be comfortable, and let your freak flag fly.
and it's not like I'm out there all the time, in front of my kids.
You don't have a neon light above you
like,
that blinks all the time.
Blinks all the time that says like, yes.
I'm thinking of getting
I like
beaten
it.
tonight.
Yeah. I don't have that, and
Right.
I do keep it very separate from my child. But I feel like everybody has like their life segmented out.
Yes.
Like this is this avenue, this is this avenue, this is this avenue. But it's not because I'm embarrassed by it or that I'm, oh my gosh, we can't talk about this.
No, not
Yeah,
at all. It's the responsibility of being
Yeah.
able to compartmentalize your issue, your aspects of your life.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that's like with anything. It doesn't have to be BDSM. I mean, obviously, I am not going to have an in-depth conversation with a 5-year-old about sex. You know, we'll talk about, Bert and Ernie.
Yes.
Exactly. There's a time and a place for everything,
Exactly.
and knowing when that is what's important.
And how really, if you think about it, 2 men living together, they never really seem to have any girlfriends. I'm just saying, closet homosexuals. But
Right.
Okay, the blonde is
Anyway,
going, where did that
okay.
come from?
All right, we're
Right.
done. We're done with that one. You're taking her on a trip and she's about to get on the train. So let's just dive right in. First question was, what does BDSM stand for? So, ladies.
Oh, BDSM stands for bondage, discipline, sadism, and masochism.
and the sado and the masochism could also be slave master,
or submission, and masochism. I mean, it really can be. There could be a vast way of
Say it. So it's bondage, discipline,
sadism, masochism, and it can be loosely, done so that you define it as to how it works for you. Just because you say BDSM doesn't always exactly mean those exact things. Mm-hmm. It can be a whole lot of things. So, but for the most part, that is the true definition of BDSM.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, now I guess maybe we should delve further into.
That's coming.
Oh, okay. So,
What does
bad, boo.
what does the bondage, discipline, sadism, and masochism mean to you?
okay. Well, the bondage part is pretty,
Straightforward.
Being restrained.
Yeah,
Yes.
being restrained and that sort of thing.
I think people don't always. I think that. Let me elaborate on that. I think when we say bondage, people just think tie me up and rope. But I also don't think that people realize too that it's taking away that. It has more to do with taking away. It's a power thing.
Yes.
It's a power struggle. It really has. Yes, it's the exchange of power. So I think it's just a matter of how you define it for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, seeing as how some people are going to know a lot about BDSM, some people are going to be brand new. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking maybe we should also talk about, so for bondage, one of the things that is, what's something that's like a simple kind of like beginner thing that you could use for bondage?
Well, and something easy that you can start off with is just, there's always the good old-fashioned rope, handcuffs. If you're talking about scarves, ties, you can use, a man's necktie. Come on. The 50 Shades of Grey thing.
That's mommy porn.
It is. But
it's a good intro.
It is a good intro. It's a good intro to it. It's a good thing, like, hey, this is how you could start off. So we didn't really get into the rest of the meanings. But bondage could even be so much as, well, when we're together, you can't say, like, hope. Or like, and that would...
It's taking away something.
So bondage is I don't like the taking away control. I think that it's better to say giving.
You're suppressing it.
Giving up control or entrusting your partner with control.
Yeah, absolutely. Or suppressing the
or
ability to do something.
Or like they'll say, like bondage could even be like, hey, when we're together, you're not allowed to wear panties. or or when we're together, you can't do XYZ. I mean, it's
that power exchange that
very much so.
Vintage mentioned. Okay, what does discipline mean? And when you say discipline, obviously when you think BDSM, a lot of us do think the mommy porn, the whole 50 Shades of Grey. So for discipline, we think about, you're naughty and you got a spanking. Why don't you guys explain what discipline can mean?
Well, but discipline could also be that when say that you're a submissive, and it's that giving up of your control or allowing somebody else to have that control over you. But you have to be disciplined in it. You can't just be like, oh, I'm just going to do this willy-nilly. It takes actual work, because there will be times where it will be tested. And a lot of times in the relationships, I feel like there's this.
Sorry.
We have some.
The handyman.
The handyman going on. This poor handyman is fixing Vintage's drain as we're taping our sex show. So congratulations, Mr. Handyman.
The handyman is a sir.
The handyman is
the handyman is a sir. So this is very much information.
Okay, well then this is right up your alley.
The handyman is a switch.
He's a switch.
He's a switch. So, we have a lot of things that you can do. I mean, discipline could also be like
So like having self-discipline almost
having
as well.
Self-discipline, yes, and having discipline over somebody else.
It can also be that typical definition of you need to be disciplined.
Yeah,
we don't want to take that away.
Yeah,
I get a lot of that because I'm kind of bratty.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so when you say you need to be disciplined, I think one of the things that I didn't understand is, and instead of going into sadism and masochism on their own, I think we need to explain what exactly it means to, the handyman mentioned a switch, or one of you have mentioned a sir, and one of you have mentioned being submissive. So why don't we explain that aspect of it really quick? Because that's one of the questions.
Well,
kind of one of the questions.
Okay. Well, so I'm what we would call a switch. I like to top and be the one in control, but also I can flip it, and I can be a bottom, and I can be submissive to somebody, and I can give up that control to somebody else. But I am very much like the definition of a switch. Like I can go both ways.
Okay, let me ask you, newer to BDSM, when you're a switch, do you start one way and go the other way? Do you stay one way? Like, how do you do your switch? Because I know that there's a couple people that I know that their partners are switches too. Mm-hmm. And so, one will start out top, and by the end of everything, that person's bottom now.
I think that's when you find out where you really are in the spectrum.
Yeah. So for me, I'm only. Oh wait, we gotta hold on for just a second. 1 second. Wow. So for me, I'll bottom, and I am a bottom for my significant other, and but I have and will top other people, but I don't really find that I can be a bottom, which means the person receiving. Mm-hmm. Like
when you say bottom, that's the submissive person, correct?
Yes, to a point. But the bottom can also just be like somebody who's receiving the flogging or the whipping or whatever, the spankings. Mm-hmm. I can bottom, but I really only like to submit completely to one man, and that's
your significant other.
That's my significant other, and so I really find that I'm more of a top and more of a more of like the assertive person in the relationship when it comes to other people.
Okay. So, and obviously we need to premise, and we should have premised this with BDSM is a choice. It needs to be discussed between people.
Yes.
This needs to be agreed upon and clearly communicated.
Well,
and obviously, and this is what I'm going to touch on, is when you say you can be a bottom and you like only to be a bottom for your significant other, that's honestly it was funny to me when you explained it to me as, one, you have to have that trust.
You do.
And two, that really, even as a bottom, you have control.
You have all the control.
Yeah.
As the bottom.
Explain that.
Okay, so as a bottom, or as a, submissive or anything like that, we like to do what is called sane, consensual play.
Okay.
Safe, sane, and consensual.
Safe, sane, and consensual?
Yes. And, you always hear people talk about safe words. Oh, my safe word is this. But the easiest way, if you're just starting out, or, even seasoned people have this. So, green. Green means go. Everything's good. Go ahead. Everything that's going on right now is good. Keep it going. Yellow is, okay, you might need to just slow it down a little bit. Just
Slow it down a little softer.
Yeah.
Whatever it may be.
And the one that I just heard the other day was blue. Somebody said blue.
Blue?
And I was like, blue? And they're like, yeah, blue is when, like, let's say your right butt cheek has just been
Mutilated?
Yeah, and you're just done. And you're done with the right butt cheek. So you can say, like, blue for my right butt cheek. Like,
Okay.
Please don't hit me there again. It's not saying, or like, if you don't want the whole scene to stop, blue for that toy.
Okay, so blue for a specific action or body part.
Yes.
Right.
And then red, everything stops. Everything stops. There will be no more play. The whole scene is done. You are done. It's, because there are things of consensual non-consent where you can scream no, 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 no. Because you are consenting to have...
To say that, yeah.
To say that.
I'm consenting that even though I'm saying no, I want you to do this.
I want you to keep
And
going.
obviously, again, this needs to be a communicated thing. You need to be with someone you trust. You don't just meet someone on Craigslist and decide to do BDSM.
No,
come on.
Well, and the thing is, too, is I really find in BDSM relationships, you have to have communication. Communication is key.
Yeah.
You have to... like
Even more so than in regular relationships.
Even more so, because this is, when you're playing with something and... some people like to do what we call edge play, which is literally like you take it to that edge of this could be too much. But the problem, that people have is sometimes if it goes over that edge. So you have to make sure that as the bottom or as the submissive, you have to say, this is my line. And, I know a lot of people think, oh, well, because you're into BDSM, well, obviously you must be into all this freaky stuff. But, really, ultimately, the definition of, like, kinky sex is...
anything outside of missionary.
No. It's not even that. It's not even that. It's actually anything outside of what sex is used for, which is procreation. So if you have sex outside of wanting to procreate, you're kinky.
I like it.
So,
So we're all a little kinky.
So everyone's a little kinky. And, the thing is that it's a lot to do with, like I said, just consent. Consent is huge in the BDSM community.
Okay, one of the questions, and I thought this was such a great one, is... are all people that are into BDSM swingers and or poly?
No.
No.
In fact, there are people who are swingers and don't enjoy kink.
No, right.
And there are people who enjoy kink but don't swing. And not everybody who's into this, like I know couples who have just been in a relationship with each other and they only do BDSM with each other. Mm-hmm. And nobody else. They don't sleep with other people. They don't go outside of the relationship. Mm-hmm. They don't have a poly situation. It's all something that's
determined in your
relationship. I mean, and this is where communication is key. Mm-hmm. Like, my significant other, Brandon, he will top other people. Other people have come to him and said, please, I want you to do this, that, and the other. And he's allowed to top other people, and he's allowed to do those sorts of things, but he doesn't sleep with anybody else or anything like that, unless him and I have had a very in-depth conversation about it.
Right. And again, you guys are poly.
We are, to a point. Sometimes. I mean, we were when we first started dating, but now we're kind of leaning more towards a monogamous relationship.
I think so.
Yeah.
More of a monogamous relationship with the occasional heinous fuckery most foul.
That was awesome, by the way.
Every once in a while we will go outside of a relationship, but it's usually together.
Yeah.
When both of us are present. So.
Okay, so Vintage, I'm going to ask you this one. How can someone find out about BDSM but in a safe environment?
I think that, well, the internet's a really great place to start with, and kind of researching.
I was going to say, and actually both Vintage and I are on a website called FetLife.
Can you spell that?
FET.
LIFE.
And that's FetLife.com?
FetLife.com.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And
we'll be posting this for you.
Yeah.
I'm making notes, guys, so I can post recaps.
Yeah, you're making notes for yourself.
I'm making notes so I can learn.
Yeah.
Sauce.
Right. So I think the internet, like I said, is a really great tool. FetLife is a wonderful social networking site.
It's like Facebook for BDSM folks.
For kink. Exactly.
For kink.
And there's a lot of information on FetLife. It's pretty simple to become, have a page of your own. It's free. Okay. A lot of areas. I mean, it's so vast, the amount of, it's worldwide with FetLife.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. They post munches, and that's like our number one thing is to find a place that offers a munch.
You just said they post munches. So why don't you explain to everybody what a munch is?
A munch is a get-together or a gathering for people that are part of the community or want to become part of the community, where they can go into a kind of a vanilla setting and not feel that pressure of the kink automatically.
Yes.
And it gives you a chance to mingle with people who may be like-minded, may have some of the same kink fetishes. It's a place where you can go and learn, get information.
So basically, kind of like a...
It's a meet and greet.
Like a meet and greet, like a BDSM meet and greet. Okay. Yeah. Now, the finding these munches and stuff like that outside of FetLife, is there
word of mouth?
Word of mouth. Okay. Mm-hmm. One of the questions here, and I think this kind of goes with that, is how do you find someone if you'd like to be trained in BDSM?
I mean, really, ultimately, I personally feel like you are going to find the most information about this on FetLife.
Okay, on FetLife.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's probably the best place to go, because not only do they have places where you can, they have different forums and different
platforms, groups
that you can join.
You can learn from.
And you can learn from that. I mean, there's pretty much anything that you can think of, there's a group for it.
Oh, yeah.
And because not only are there munches that you can go to and meet people, but there's what we call sloshes too.
Sloshes are First Fridays.
Okay,
Yes, first
what?
Friday.
Okay, what is let's go a little slower because I'm writing this down.
What's a
What
slosh?
is a slosh first?
So a slosh
And is it SLOSH?
Yes,
Okay.
SLOSH. So the slosh is really, it's exactly like a munch, but a munch is usually held in like a restaurant. We personally hold ours in a restaurant.
Yeah, a local bowling alley.
Yeah.
Some places, some groups. I know when I first,
Okay, so that's where a munch is held, but where is a slosh held?
It's held at a bar.
At a
Okay, so
bar.
it's like a munch, but it's at a bar.
Yes, it's at a bar. And drinking is allowed and permitted, and you know, some people are more comfortable going to a slosh. The only problem I find with sloshes is that if somebody starts drinking,
Their judgment can be impaired.
their judgment can be impaired very much so. And technically, if you're quote unquote legally drunk, you cannot give consent.
Yes.
I think it changes the whole mood too of things.
It does. And I feel like at a slosh, it's more adult. Because obviously you have to be 21 to get in.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, you know, as long as you're 18 and older, you can come to a munch or go to a munch.
Right.
Okay.
But sloshes, of course, are held for the 21 and over crowd for people who go to bars.
Okay, now you said something after
Another
slosh.
one.
What's it called?
Another one we offer up here are First Fridays.
Okay, what's
which
that?
is kind of like where it's kind of like a slosh mixed with a munch. A lot of times they may meet in a bar, but they would say
They actually meet at Pedro's.
a restaurant.
But in like the bar area.
Yes, and then they spend their time mingling and doing very vanilla activities, playing pool, darts, getting to know each other outside of kink, more or less just on that personal level.
Well, and this is something that I want to throw out there. Like, I know that people have like this stigma, and again, you know, we talked about the taboos and things like that. But people who do BDSM, they're just people.
Right.
You know, it's not like they're evil. It's not like they're wicked. It's not like, I mean,
They don't, have spiritual
Yes,
rituals
I can tell you that these two are heavily involved in BDSM and kink, and are probably two of the most loyal, beautiful, wonderful, honest, huge-hearted, most giving people, period. And I'll tell you what, I was raised, that sex was something you had to do. You know what I mean? Like, I was not raised where BDSM was, quote-unquote, acceptable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And so my prejudgment and my ignorance always led me to think of BDSM as like people, like in my mind originally I thought it was like, all the goth, like people in, white face paint and they're chaining each other up, and Marilyn Manson and all those different kind of things. And it's now funny to me because if you see Shay or, if you see Electric or Vintage out at the grocery store, you're not going to think like, oh, she just got her ass paddled last night. And in fact, she may have just got her ass paddled last night.
Oh, most definitely.
And I joke with you guys, like I've seen where you've gotten bruises before, and I'm like, did your mama not hug you? Like, I love you. Do you want me to take care of you? But one of the things I learned about that I really think is something that nobody knows about, I definitely didn't, was the aftercare part of BDSM.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
So why don't you talk about that for a little bit?
So the aftercare portion is, so when you're in the scene, your endorphins get going as far as being the bottom. Your endorphins get going, and they have it what is called subdrop or subspace.
Subspace.
And subspace is when like you will have this drunken feeling.
It's almost a moment of
Euphoria.
Ecstasy high.
Yeah, it's like an ecstasy high. It's like euphoric. You're almost kind of like having, some people explain it as an out of body experience. But when the scene is over, you have the opposite effect. you have what's called then sub-drop.
Okay.
And it's almost like...
But it can also be dominant drop too.
Yes. Most
And what does that
definitely.
mean?
Well, because and we didn't really talk about like the sadism and the masochism part of the BDSM thing.
Yeah.
But a lot of tops, they get that same high from topping.
Mm-hmm.
That same rush of
The
adrenaline.
same rush, that same euphoric, the endorphins,
And
from being the top. And then, so as much as the bottom, I'm just seeing if I understand this. So as much as like the bottom gets that euphoric state and then the drop, the top does as well then.
Yes.
right.
Yes.
Okay.
And it can be displayed in many different ways.
Yes.
I mean, it can be for a lot of men. I mean, or for some men that are tops, it can be a sexual stimulation, an arousal for them. It can be an arousal for a bottom just as much.
Yes.
Okay.
But then they have that drop. So aftercare really is like the top. If you have a good top, if you have somebody who's doing it right and this sort of thing, and there are some people who, as a top, will say, "I don't do aftercare," and they'll tell them in advance. So if I'm bottoming for whomever, then, like let's say they're like, okay, well, I'll top you, but I don't do aftercare. So that means that I have to find somebody who will take care of me afterwards. Afterwards, it's mostly like, sometimes people need to be cuddled. Sometimes they need to be put, brought into a safe space to know that they're safe. I've seen people who have been like so out of it that they need to be covered with blankets, they need water, and I know
Carbs, things like that.
Sugar.
To
kind of help them balance out that high so that they can get to be more of an even keel. But just that time period where they have that like, okay, I'm coming down from this and I need to recoup from this.
So let me make sure I understand this. So it's basically the taking care of the person after the euphoria.
Right.
Yes. Well, because a lot of times too, there are predators in BDSM, just like there's predators out of the bar, just like and there are people who would play with some people, a bottom and get them into subspace, and then take advantage of them because they are. It's like being punch drunk.
Yeah.
Right.
And take them into places that they hadn't agreed to go. And as far as like being very kink aware and being aware of your community, you are going to find people who they're like, yes, this is somebody that you want to stay away from. This is somebody who will violate your consent. This is somebody who will take you beyond the point of like
Where your
negotiation has ended.
I think one of the biggest things that we need to make sure people understand too is you don't meet somebody at a munch and then just decide to be their submissive with only knowing them for 20 minutes. Like this is something you have to build up to and bond to.
Absolutely.
So now kind of going back to the questions, one of the biggest questions, and multiple people asked this, was how do you talk to your partner about BDSM if this is not something you've ever done? Or how can you introduce the idea of? And then there's a follow-up question to that.
Well, and like the easiest thing I find is like, I mean, you don't have to go all out with the floggers and the toys and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you could start with something just as simple as sensory. Sensory is the easiest one.
And it actually is.
And when you say sensory, you're talking like putting on a blindfold, or what are you talking about?
Taking away one of the senses that you're so accustomed to having.
So, like, say
if you
say
tie their hands.
Yeah, and say you can't touch me.
Yeah.
While I'm touching you, or while I'm servicing you, or while we're having sex, or whatever it is. It's more or less you're taking away just one of those senses because you're heightening everything else.
Okay.
Well, and even it's also to the point of where, like, if you're really looking to kind of dabble in it just really lightly, a blindfold.
Absolutely.
A blindfold, just starting out with a blindfold, and literally just taking different sensations. Like, if you have gloves that are super soft, or if you have, something that's kind of rough, or a feather, and just really have them be immersed in this, like the situation. Have them have that quiet where it's, and you're just touching them, or they have those candles that are the massage oils too. Maybe get one of those and just try doing that. And really, you just have to be honest about what you want and what you want to try.
And I think that some people are afraid to say, like BDSM or something like that, because they don't want somebody thinking, okay, I want you to go get the cutting board and whoop my ass. You know what I mean?
No.
But I think I think you have to define what you're comfortable with with your partner.
Yes.
And if they even want to explore that. Some
Yes.
people do not want to be in control. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I personally like it at times when I'll be like, you take control. I don't want to think. Mm-hmm. Just tell me what you want me to do. Tell me where you want me to go. Tell me how you want it. I don't want to think tonight. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And that's another thing too, like just having somebody tell you, like, come in the room, lay down on the, like, undress.
I always think of the True Lies.
Yeah.
Remember?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, most definitely. It's a really good example.
Yeah, and that's something that can be construed as BDSM or kinky without really being, hardcore. And even people who are technically in BDSM, not everybody is into hardcore, like, get out the paddle and paddle my butt until it's, the skin's peeling.
Yeah.
Go grab
That's
the
what you
needles. Go grab the needles and let's do some wings. Like, that's not.
We'll
what
get
everybody
into
does.
wings and fire kittens and all that stuff another show.
Yes.
Okay, one of the things here too was, what are some of the lighter BDSM acts that you can try with your partner, which we kind of defined, the blindfold, tickling with a feather, you don't touch me while I touch you. Mm-hmm. What if you want to dabble in a little bit harder kind of stuff? Like, does FetLife have a place where you can learn about certain things? I mean, honestly, I just call you guys and I'm like, how does this work? I have no interest in being beat with a flogger, but if Sauce doesn't smack my ass while he does this, I get pissed. You know what I mean? Like, obviously.
But even just that spanking during sex is a form of kink.
Yeah, I was going to say, like,
You're already dabbling.
yes. The thing that's probably the easiest is just an over the knee spanking. I know people who it's because having to actually lay across somebody's lap and get a spanking can be somewhat humiliating in a little bit for some people, or but I mean, even just like having your partner on all fours and giving them a spanking, that's probably the easiest. You don't have to get anything. Or
and what is your advice for men? Because on the flip side, one of the questions that I forgot to write it down that I got was, my girlfriend wants me to take control. Which, I tell her what to do, but she wants me to take absolute control. And I'm just nervous. I don't know what quite to do.
I think having a very honest conversation about what kind of control. Does she want you...
Like, according to him, she wants him to tell her how to come into the room, how to sit down, how to do this, how to do that. But he feels like that's degrading.
And the thing is, too, is like,
so kind of like, how do you become more dominant if that's what's required of you? Since you're a switch, I feel like you can.
I was going to say, well,
we have a sir. I mean, if you don't mind answering the question, you can answer. We do have a sir here with us. Mm-hmm. How do you get into that place where you can do particularly for this guy, he feels like it's degrading for him to tell, his girlfriend, whatever, what to do, but she's asking for it. How do you get in that maybe mental state, I guess?
It sounds like he's afraid.
And
to me, from what you said, it sounds
I think he is. Oh, I think he is.
Afraid because he doesn't understand it yet. He hasn't done it enough yet. You need to break him in slowly.
So is it kind of like a practice thing?
Yeah.
Not necessarily. Take him to an event to let him see other people,
Well, and here's another thing too.
but not something hardcore.
I have a feeling that for a lot of people, even me, I found it's almost embarrassing because you're not quite sure how to start it out, and you're kind of like, well, I don't want to do it wrong. Okay, I'm going to tell you this much. You're going to have to break some eggs to make this omelet. And you're not going to immediately, right out of the gate, be a super uber dom and uber, like, I can tell you what to do.
It takes practice. Like, with anything. I mean,
most
honestly, let's be honest. From the time you lost your virginity to what you can do today, there's been a learning curve. So is it the same way with BDSM?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I think a lot of people don't realize that somewhere, somehow, at some point in time, they've probably had some little bit of dominance in their life with their partner and they just don't realize it. Something as simple as telling your partner, you've been bad today. You've been naughty. It may have been said in a connotation of a joke, but it is a form of dominance at that point.
And the funny thing is I can guarantee you that, you know, it's going to be awkward. You're going to feel awkward and you're going to feel stupid because it's not something that people do on a regular basis. So don't be embarrassed or worried about it. Just, you know, start off with the small things like, you know, when you get into the bedroom, just tell her to take her clothes off.
Absolutely.
And just, you know, and maybe just
Tell her how to take her.
tell her how to take her clothes off, you know.
Do a strip tease for me.
Do it slow or do it, you know, take your shirt off first or
and
now your
I
pants.
exactly. And even still, it can be as so much as you integrate it during lovemaking too. He's telling you to go faster, slow down.
Yeah.
That's a form of dominance that is you're unconsciously giving off.
Yeah.
And
Now-
you just need to build on it. Everything is like a building. It's steps. They're baby
Yes.
steps, and you're building off of each one.
But I feel like your foundation has to be
Communication.
Yes.
Communication and trust.
And trust.
Obviously,
yes. Well,
because
but
you have to be able to, and you know, that was the one thing that you guys helped me understand is, you know, because I always felt, I'm like, I'm never going to be submissive to anybody. Are you kidding me? I'm not giving up power. Because we all know I'm a little hungry bitch sometimes.
But you do.
But the way you know, it's like, no, you're giving up one aspect, but you have all the power because you get to say this goes, this doesn't go,
Yes.
you know?
Absolutely.
And you could just say, and I mean, ultimately, the bottom has all the
The
power.
say.
All the say. Because they get to say, yes, keep going. Slow down with this. And they get to say, absolutely, positively, stop. And once they say stop,
That's it.
it stops. And that's it.
All right. Well, we are literally at the end of our show, which is insane because it went so quick. But I would like to hear, what is your favorite thing about BDSM? We'll start with electric.
Oh my God, no, I don't know.
I don't either.
I mean,
I know my most hated thing.
Okay, what's your most hated?
Well, I'm not gonna lie. I'm probably the brattiest of submissives, and
No,
electric
not
is like,
you.
oh my
Oh
god,
my gosh, it's the funniest thing.
I am like so bad when it comes to it, and I like to push my limits, and I think I do it on
You
purpose.
push your limits with everything.
I
It's not
do.
just BDSM.
I do, and I may say I hate something, and it's funny because I know I'm going to get punished for it, and I do it anyway. But like, I mean, my sir,
Darling, you're known as a brat.
I
Yes.
am a brat. I am known as a brat, and you know, my most
She's
hated.
such a Karen.
I am. I'm a Karen.
We're gonna change brat in BDSM to Karen.
Karen.
That's
Yeah.
my new goal.
Yeah, exactly. My most hated
Don't be a
thing
Karen.
is I know the worst punishment there is, and I almost am one of those that I'll push to the point where I know I'm going to get it, and I'll still push for it, and that's the quarter punishment. So,
And what is the quarter punishment? Is this something we should save for a later show?
no, it's pretty
No, it's
simple.
pretty
It's literally you stand against the wall. It's 11 quarters, one under each fingertip, hands to the wall, holding up a quarter under each fingertip and one with the tip of your nose. And it's literally, you're there for...
You're like the dunce kid.
Oh, yeah. And to hold those quarters with your fingertips and with your nose is like the most excruciating, torturing thing to do. And you might think about it when you're
Can you talk while you're doing it? Because if not, why have you not exploded?
Oh, I don't know. And I can talk, but I'm like... Your fingers cramp. You know, you're like 5 minutes in and it feels like 45 minutes.
Well, but we also up the ante. She gets her ante upped a little bit for that one too, because
Because she's a brat? Because she's such a Karen?
Yes, because not only does she get that, but she also gets the Hitachi at the same time.
Yeah. Like,
All
he
right.
will literally
Hold on. We're going to worry about that next time. Now we're going to ask Electra, because we got to wrap up. Electra, what's your favorite thing?
My favorite thing? There's so many things. Is the problem.
I know.
Like I like.
Well, pick your top three.
My top three. I do like a good beating. Bring it on.
Yes.
I do like fireplay. Love fireplay. And I do love to top every once in a while. It is fun. Like, I think it's fun to put on that different hat and be the top, because Brandon is such a, I'm the domliest dom of all doms, I will never let you, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, so it's like all these things that I really want to try, I can't do with him. So it's nice nice to be a switch, because then I can do these things with other people, and I can top them and be perfectly happy and all of that. So I mean, I like that I can play both roles.
This is probably one of your favorite things,
yes,
too.
a chastity device.
A chastity device is one of her most favorite things.
Yes, but just one.
That looks like you got it. Literally reminds me of like a diaphragm with a gym lock.
Yes. Yes. Well, but see, a chastity device.
Does that go on the tip of the penis?
Yeah.
The whole
If you want
penis.
to look it up, it's called a CB6000.
Yes. But one of the things that I would like to suggest to people out there who are really looking into this and really seriously wanting to learn about it, find a mentor. Somebody who's been in the lifestyle for a long time.
And again, the best way to do that is probably through FET.
Yes and no.
You know what? I think, too, if you guys are cool with it, we'll go ahead and we'll tag you on my personal page, the Just B Network page, and then obviously the BB page.
Yep.
You're totally cool with people asking you questions.
Yes.
Now,
Absolutely.
by all means, when I say you can ask them questions, that does not mean you can show dick pics.
Yes.
That does not mean you can ask them to come over and beat the hell out of your penis, okay? Legitimate, real questions. If
Yes.
you're looking for a whore, please contact Craigslist, not us.
Yes.
Backpage is another good place for that.
Backpage?
Backpage. If you want a whore or you're looking for a hookup just to get off, go to Backpage.
Well, there actually is a group on FetLife called "I'm Here Just to Get My Dick Wet" or like just to hook up.
Yeah,
Like, and it's
there are
literally-
some of those on there,
and
but
it's literally just for people who
Was
wanna
George
hook up.
Clooney a member of that for a long time?
I don't know.
I feel like
who
he was.
knows?
Maybe.
But I mean, if you seriously have questions, I am fine with it. Please feel free to, inbox me.
But do not be rude. And
Right.
don't cause a problem, because I will find you.
Right,
I'm
exactly.
evil and I will find
Be
you.
respectful
Right.
Yeah.
of who we are as humans and our external lives as well.
Please
but
do not
yes.
post it on my page.
Yeah, don't
Yeah,
put it on my
yeah, we're not
personal
gonna-
page.
Yeah.
Definitely
Please
inbox me with a private message, and
Yeah.
I'll be happy to
Yes.
chat with anyone. And
Yes.
I know that Electric would too. So
On our next boudoir, maybe we'll get into some of the fun toys and the Hitachi and the rest of that. Ladies, as always, thank you for your experience. Sir, thank you for weighing in. And BBs, I hope you have a little BDSM fun. Until next time.
Woo-hoo.